Hello, beloved.
Hi, and team.
Oh, my water just gave it back to earth. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to have this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Would you let the audience know who you are a little bit, just a little bit of what you do?
I do a lot of different things. I'm the director and instructor for the LaHoChi Institute of Energy Healing. I've been doing this work for over 30 years, and it brings me a lot of joy and passion and inspiration to share this work with other people. It's a simple form of hands-on self and remote healing, and I teach it twice a year here in Mount Shasta, California. And I used to travel all over the country teaching it, and now since COVID I'm just happy to teach it here. And I'm also a musician, and I have been receiving my channeled music as a big download with music, lyrics, titles, inspiration, transmissions of grace since 9/11. And I'm also a mother of 3 grown children, and love living in Mount Shasta because it's a powerful spiritual community and beautiful, pristine nature. And I feel blessed to live this beautiful life.
You mentioned a date of receiving the music. You said after 9/11.
Yeah.
Is that the 9/11?
Yeah,
you know?
in
Okay.
2001.
Okay.
It coincided with me receiving my grandmother's piano, and she was an opera singer, and so she was the one who instilled a love of music in me. And I took piano and trained classically from 3rd grade through college. Yet once I inherited my grandmother's piano, which she had promised me since childhood, it happened. It was right at 9/11, and I just started hearing and receiving music, and then I would sit to play what I was hearing and then write it in my own strange little shorthand, and then now have 7 CDs and hundreds more pieces I could record. It just comes as prescriptive sound tonics to support whatever I'm going through in my life. And whether it's joy or grief or transformation, whatever it is, the music comes in as an undercurrent underneath to lift and help me through.
Yeah, that brought me back to when I first come to the United States. That was 3 days before 9/11. So I remember that day very clearly. I was a grad student, and I remember my mom called me. It's like, why don't you come home? I'm like, no, I'm staying. And well, for those who don't know, I actually had the opportunity to sit in one of your piano meditation sessions. It was so beautiful.
Thank you.
I could still remember the first few songs. It was just really working on my heart chakra. It's just like, I'm like, is it really just going to my heart all the time? And like, why aren't you guys going anywhere? But after the song about your father transitioning, I think it's the door.
It's called Open Door.
Open Door. That song was all third chakra and pineal gland. And I'm just like, wow, wait, now it's going here. And you know, I was like, wait, it's not hard anymore. It's just going up here. And another song after that was still going to the upper chakra. And it went back to the heart. I'm like, oh man, and it's like pounding this area, but also recharging. And it was, when it was targeting my third eye area, I was starting having some kind of psychedelic experience. I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? But it was very beautiful, very relaxing, very healing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last song, It's about the peace.
Peace is a river.
Peace is a river.
Yeah.
That song was amazing. It's its own sense. It's opening up all the upper chakras at the same time for me.
Yeah.
And it's very relaxing, but also very, I don't know how to describe it, but liberating in a way. Yeah.
Thanks.
It was a beautiful experience. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to sit in one of your sessions.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you got to experience it too. My music is on my website, my music site, which is belovedheartsong.com, which is my name, but it's Heart Song is what I call my music that I receive because of the way it so powerfully opens people's hearts. Often people will just start crying when they hear my music, and they don't know why. And especially when men cry, they're like, "What's happening?" And but it's just the softening and the heart opening, and they don't have to understand it, just allow it. And again, there's a level of freedom that comes from just breathing through that. You know?
I love you have such a clear channel to receive these beautiful music.
Yeah.
I think like these beautiful pieces are just kind of flowing in the ether around us, but certain people like you have the ability, have the antenna open and a clear channel to receive them.
Yeah.
And then you have the training to write this music down.
One of the things that I think absolutely set me up to be able to receive the music was the work I teach, the LaHoChi, because the more I did it, the more I ran it on myself or on others or received it, the more it built my energetic matrix with it. And the more it did that, the more it opened my subtle senses. And I started seeing and hearing and knowing and feeling on really expanded levels. And then I started channeling poetry, and then I started channeling messages, and then I started doing readings for people. And then it went into like channeling ascended masters. I went into trance channeling at somebody's dinner table unexpectedly. I wasn't trying to. I had no intention to. It just happened. And so I started channeling archangels and ascended masters and people's pets and family members from the other side. And that went on for years, and I had so many different beings coming through all the time. I used to speak at churches and expos, and I had monthly channeling circles in my home on the East Coast. And so people could come and ask whatever questions they wanted. And with all these different energetic signatures of the different beings coming through, I learned to discern the difference between the beings and to feel them. And even my students and people who either came to me for sessions or the channeling circles, a lot of times they'd tell me after I had completed, they'd say, "I knew it was Mother Mary coming through before she spoke. I could feel it." So they learned to recognize the energetic signatures of the different beings too. But after years of that, when it started with the music, I think all of that, being able to feel and recognize the different feelings of the different beings and signatures, I think that set me up to be able to receive the subtle nuances of the music. And so it just felt easy when it started. And I'm kind of amazed myself. Like when I look at my crazy shorthand that I write, I know all the subtle nuances of the music. Nobody else could ever read it or make sense of it. But I look at just the scratch on the page and I know slow down here, speed up here, louder, softer, you know, whatever it is. It just is encoded somehow in me, and I can't explain it. I just appreciate it. I feel like I just work here. You know, it's like a gift that I've been assigned to share. And so I do.
What a unique and blessed, way of living a life like this.
Yeah, it is. Because I feel so much joy and gratitude, not only every day But every time I teach a class, every time I share with somebody or I meet somebody and I feel that heart connection, I know that that opening I received that built me as a human being, built my character and my ability to live by my guidance and trust it, all of that brings continued blessings, not only to me, but to my friends and my family and the people I share with, because I watch them open up and be blessed and graced in their lives. And I cry almost every time I teach because I get to witness and hold space for their unfolding and opening and quickening and activation. And in that, I just feel like, how much better could it get? Thanks, Spirit. How much better could it ever be, you know? And so to be of service and to be an instrument of grace in other people's lives, that's what we're here for, you know, to be the love we are and to share the love that we carry and are able to, you know, to remind others that they have it in themselves too. Yeah.
It's amazing to be able to be one with the source and work with that energy.
Yeah, it is.
Can you, I have so many questions.
Okay, go ahead. Take all the time you want.
Yeah, I know. It just, you know, like, I live in a big city, very busy city. It's cars and convenience stores and people and noise and smells and all that. And so it's really great to come to Shasta and to be reminded like what life can be and what life should be in a way.
Yeah.
And you know, I like reading and I learn about all the angels and ascended masters. Actually, we went to the bookstore yesterday and we saw a beautiful drawing for Archangel Uriel.
Yeah.
And I show Uriel, it's like, this is where you got your name from.
Yeah.
He's like, really? I'm like, well, yeah, this is the name of an angel. And he's enjoying his sandwich. And when you channel, I'm just super curious, like what's it like to work with the angel or ascended master? What's that like?
Well,
when that energy comes through.
It's beautiful and powerful. The first time, you want to hear the story of how it first happened?
Yes, the first one is always
the first. So, well, I had been channeling messages and angels and getting insights and poetry. But I was sitting at a dinner table with friends. One of my friends was a woman who was the founder and director of the LaHoChi Institute that I'm now director of. She has since passed, but her name was Rio. And so Rio and her sister were there. I've been best friends with her sister since I was 3 years old, and then some other friends. So we're at a dinner table talking about how everyone comes in with their own gifts and talents. And I said, you know, like, I see this in you and I see this in you. And so my friend Michael was sitting across the table from me and said, what do you see in me? And I said, okay, let me just tune in. And I closed my eyes and I saw this light. And just like when you hold a book too close to your face, you can't focus on the words, you have to back up from it to be able to get a sharp image. I was doing that with my eyes closed, but in my mind's eye, backing up from this light. And the more I backed up, the bigger it got. And pretty soon I imagined myself out of the room, out of the house, up in the stars, out by the planets. I just kept going and it kept getting bigger, and all of a sudden, poof, I was out of my body. I had no thought, no where am I kind of idea. My experience was I was floating on my back in this chalice of light. It wasn't even, there wasn't even a thought about, oh, this is cool, or, you know, I was just there. That's all there was. Me floating on my back in this giant chalice of light. When I came out of that experience and I felt like I was back in my body, I felt horrible. I felt like I'd had a pot of coffee and I was speeding, and I don't do caffeine. I felt like I was going to throw up and pass out. I felt weak. I felt like all my nerves were raw, almost like I didn't have skin. And words, people spoke to me, felt like how you see on TV when somebody's really hungover and every word hurts. That's how it felt. And my friend Rio said, "Do you know what just happened?" And I said, "No." And I just wanted to say, "Shut up and be quiet," you know. And she said, "Archangel Michael just spoke through you for 45 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
And I just couldn't even grasp that. I didn't even know at that point what I really believed, because I had grown up in a home where my father was an Orthodox Jew and my mother was an atheist. And I had no religious grounding that I related to. I had lots of tradition in my house, and they had love for their own belief system, but none of it ever resonated for me. And so I just didn't have a place to call home yet within my own spiritual self. And so I just didn't know what to do with that information. And I thought, well, I didn't even think that's cool, you know, then. But then later I was like, well, how did I do that? Can I do it again? Do I even want to try to do it again? Because it sure felt terrible coming out of it. And I didn't really have an experience of what they had sitting listening to me. And so, but that was the beginning. And Archangel Michael was my gatekeeper for years. And when he would come through, I would invoke him and say a prayer always to start, to hold the highest, cleanest energy and for only the truth to come through. And at one point I saw him turn my arm into this blue sword of light, and it was like, you carry the truth, you know. And I knew that from childhood, because as a kid, when I would watch TV or the news would be on, I would always wonder, why are all these grown-ups lying? You know, especially politicians. You know, I just knew they weren't telling the truth. And so I could always feel in my body what was true and not when someone spoke. And so, but that took it to another level. Then I started feeling it in my spine. And so for a long time, I just channeled Archangel Michael. And then he started, I would see in my mind's eye, you know, with my eyes closed, I would see almost like a bouncer at a club in a fire escape. You know, he'd be at the door, and I could see all these other beings lined up waiting to come talk to me or through me. And so they'd come and they'd announce who they are by saying their name. I am Archangel Michael. I am Archangel Michael. I am Archangel Michael. They'd always say it 3 times. And then whoever else was coming, Kuan Yin, Jesus, Mary, Lao Tzu, whoever it was just all these different beings would come, and they had different personalities. They had different voices. They had different energy. Some were soft, some were loud and strong. One time El Moria started coming through me, and it was kind of early on, and it was a little bit scary because it didn't feel as comfortable as what I was used to, and it felt like this huge energy in my throat, like a giant, not a knot, but a giant force. And I just didn't know I could do it, and I kind of started laughing, and just went, you know. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Please, I promise to be respectful. You know, if you'll come back another time, give me another chance. And so he did another time, but you know, and I just realized from what was being said, you know, I would record it and learn from it, but it was so hard on me to do that with trance channeling. And I was channeling for a group in Sedona one time, and a friend of Rio's came up to me and she said, you don't have to let them use your body that way. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you can be a conscious channel where you hear and you're aware of what you're saying and doing, and it won't be as hard on your body. And I said, well, how do I do that? She said, just ask Spirit, you know. And I said, okay. So I started in my meditation every day to ask Spirit, help me be a conscious channel. This is too hard on my body. And all the trance channels I had read about in the past, like Seth, Jane Roberts and the Seth material and things, they didn't live very long because it's really hard on your electrical system, you know? And so I just asked to be taught. So they started telling me to open my eyes instead of keeping them closed. And when I would do readings for people, I would hold their hands and look in their eyes and hold the gaze. And I started seeing inside their eyes. I started, instead of my eyelids being the backdrop of the movie screen that was projected onto, the images would appear in their eyes. And then it just came as a knowing. And so I just got better at it. And then I loved it because I could hear what I was saying, or what the beings were saying as it was coming out of my mouth. And I was dazzled because it didn't always go with what I believed. I often would hear myself saying something that wasn't my opinion or wasn't something I was aware of yet. So I learned, and the more I was taught by Spirit, the more my world became fascinating and broader, because I was learning about so much and understanding on such a deeper level. And I felt like the sessions I was giving people were exponentially going into greater depth and expansion at the same time. And it just afforded me a view of life that totally made everything that seems like a big deal to most people in their daily lives seem like nothing to me, right? Because the bigger picture was being shown, and there's nothing but gratitude and love there, right? There's no fear and darkness in a clear channel, right? If somebody's making you feel afraid or telling you darkness surrounds you and, you know, all these horrible things are going to happen, run for the hills, because a clear channel who's connected to Source is not going to instill fear. They're going to give you a view of how to lift yourself and your view and your understanding to a higher level so that you can embrace truth and love and grace and joy, and not only receive it, become it, you know, and be able to help others with it. So I loved being a conscious channel and did that for years. And I don't do it that much anymore because it went into the music, and I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. Plus, it was about the time I moved here, like 20 years ago, I just felt like Mount Shasta didn't need one more channel, because everybody here says they're a channel, you know. And so it's just important to me to stay true to what I feel called to do in the moment, you know. And so my insight comes through, you know, when I'm teaching, and my insight comes through when I'm doing private energy work sessions with people. And I don't try to make it come through all the time. I trust whatever's for the person's highest good is going to come through. And it's my intention to show up for them with gentleness, grace, ease, and joy, and serve whatever their higher self and their intention for their healing is, not mine, because I don't know what's for their highest good. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So I learned about two things. There's a difference between trance channeling and conscious channeling.
Yeah.
So trance channeling is when the being is kind of using your body as a vehicle.
Yeah.
But so you don't have control, and you don't comprehend what was being spoken.
You're not aware of it at all.
And then the conscious channeling is the message is still coming through, but you get to comprehend what's happening, and you still have control of your body. Do you still feel the electrical system being
but not
after the conscious channeling?
Not in a harsh way. I actually would feel drained from trance channeling. I feel energized from conscious channeling, and totally joyous coming out of it, and grounded. And when different beings would come through, especially for the first time, as I was getting familiar with their energetic signature, it would feel like a huge, huge like ball of energy in my throat. Sometimes so much so I think, you know, almost like you feel like you're going to throw up. But how do I do this? The only thing that would relieve it was actually letting the words out. And then when I would channel, the words would come fast and furious, way faster than I would normally speak, and way faster than I could formulate all these thoughts, because a lot of them were new thoughts, but new ideas. But it was like a hose, right? Being turned on, and you've got your hand over it, and that pressure builds up right there. And then as soon as you let the words out and that stream of consciousness flow, it just flows, and it eased the pressure. And then it felt great. And then my whole body felt like it was in that flow. And I just felt blessed by the energy. And then afterwards, it's like being showered with grace, you know. It's nurturing, loving, supportive, gentle, beautiful. Yeah, I just was like, wow.
I wonder what the internal switch is. You know, like, have you figured that out? Like what?
You mean to pull it forth? To
What made such a big difference? Like with trance channeling, the energy, the being is coming to use your body as a vehicle, whereas the conscious channeling is still coming through you, but there's the switch internally or somewhere is directing the energy in a different way, so it doesn't drain your body instead of...
Yeah, well, I mean, the main switch was that I asked for it. I prayed for it. In my daily meditations. Well, I'll tell you, when I first started opening with all this, my children were little. And so they were toddlers. And I was busy. I was married. I was on the board at the Montessori school. I carpooled all the time. I had a really full life. I was a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids and happy. I loved my life. It was great. And so stuff started coming through. I would start hearing poetry or messages while I'm driving, while I was in the bathroom, while I'm in the shower, while I'm sleeping. And I was like, okay, Spirit, you got to let me sleep. And I would love some privacy. And I would be driving down the road with a napkin on the steering wheel and a pen, watching the road, but writing, hoping it would be legible, what was coming through. And I'm like, this has to stop. I need to be safe. My kids need to be safe. We need to come up with a better way. And they said, get up every morning at 5:30 and meditate. And so I did. And I'd sit for half an hour every morning with a journal and meditate. And that's when they started coming to teach me. And then, you know, I'd start my day and get the kids up for school. And at the end of my journal, I got a title and a foreword and realized that my personal journal was a book that I hadn't planned on. And it had lessons and poetry on how to live your life with a lifted spirit. And I didn't realize it until I started putting everything together the way I felt guided to, that there was a poem that went with every lesson. And so that was kind of cool. And so I published that book many years ago. It's called The Cosmic Cradle. And it was basic poetry, but it totally supported lifting your spirit into a higher view of all these different aspects of life. Since then, the poetry I've received is much more involved and deep and more Rumi-esque, you know, and subtle undercurrent. But that's how it started. And then I would get guidance. You know, I'd go like to get to my sock drawer, and I'd have 6 pairs of white socks that I wore to the gym, and I'd reach for one, and I'd hear in my head, not that one. And then I'd go to the next one, not that one. And the next one, not that one. I'm like, what does it matter? And I go, it matters, pay attention. And so then I'd get my hand over another pair, and I'd say, yes, that one. And I would feel this energy in my arm that was the flow of a yes from spirit, right? And that happened like every day for months. Like, and they kept saying, it matters, pay attention. And then I really learned what yes felt like in my body versus what no felt like. And I started, when I got good at that, then it would be, don't turn left, or go here, do this, don't do that, or don't eat that. And I just learned to listen to my body's wisdom and the flow of guidance that came as a message and also a body sensation. And then I was like this walking barometer, where I just knew. And, after 30-something years of that, I can just look at something and I can feel yes or no in my body, and my energy will lift and expand for yes and truth, and contract and recede for a no, or something's not good for me. And so I don't need a pendulum or somebody else to tell me what the right thing is for me, because I learned how to embody it. And so Spirit taught me all these different ways of becoming more discerning. And so, not that everything's perfect, but pretty close. I mean, I totally trust and live by my guidance, and have for over 30 years. And so I'm never sorry that I listened to it. I have been sorry in the past when I didn't listen to it, and when I doubted it. Second guessing is not good. And we all have that. I used to teach workshops on how to develop your intuition and guidance, and how to create the life you want to lead through that. And so we can all do it. We have that. We just need to learn to flex that muscle,
So it's hitting my brain in all different directions. And this is all after the LaHoChi training.
Yeah.
How did you come
to that?
Yeah.
So my friend Cindy, who's a younger sister of Rio, who was, like I said, we've known each other since the first day of nursery school and been best friends since. So Rio, the older sister, was married to a guy named Dan, and they were living in Santa Monica. And we grew up in North Carolina, but they were living in Santa Monica. And
well, you grew up in Santa Monica?
no, they did.
They did.
No,
okay.
no, we grew up in North Carolina, but Rio and Dan were living in Santa Monica.
Okay, got it.
And they were part of a group called the Light Sessions. And this man named Sachimar had been a student and devotee of Sai Baba's for 20 years. And Sai Baba sent him out in the world to teach. So he's holding the Light Sessions twice a day for an hour in the morning and an hour at night. And Rio and Dan were part of this group where they would meditate together. Sometimes Sachimar would give discourses on things. And as they're sitting, one day somebody in the group asked, is there a better way to heal? And over the course of several months, Angel Light, which is a healing modality I teach, and the LaHoChi, the other modality, they're taught in the same training, came through. And back then, people believed only a few chosen people on the planet were healers. They didn't believe it was something innate in everyone. And so they started experimenting with it, and they all found they were having these amazing, incredible, out-of-body and powerful healing experiences on all levels, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. Their lives were being transformed by it. Of those people, Rio and Dan felt called to take it out in the world. So they decided to create the Institute so that they could create a training program so the integrity of the work would be held and not become diluted like other forms like Reiki have, where everybody can say they're a Reiki master, but you really don't know who taught who and what the lineage of training actually is. And so Rio and Dan wanted to protect LaHoChi that way. And so they moved to North Carolina, back to North Carolina, to the town where I was living, right down the street from my kids' Montessori school. And my friend Cindy, her sister, took it. Well, Cindy used to give me massages on a regular basis. Once she learned LaHoChi, she would run energy on me during the massage. And I started having really blissed out, expansive experiences and seeing waves of violet light and colors. And I'd say, what are you doing? And she'd say, I'm running LaHoChi on you. It's really amazing. You should take it. And I was like, nah, because my kids were little. I was busy. I couldn't imagine taking a whole weekend away from my family. But it kept happening. And it only happened in those massages. And so it finally piqued my interest enough. I took the training.
How long did it take you to
Oh no,
surrender?
Probably a few months.
Nice.
Because I was busy, you know, and I was happy. I didn't feel like I needed anything else. I wasn't seeking, you know, and so I took the training, and the very first day, the first session I received, I started seeing full-length movies, and of people's like childhoods and past lives, and just like watching a movie, you know, with my eyes closed. And I kept hearing these women's names. And when I came out of the session, the woman who gave me the session, I'd never met her before, she said, what'd you experience? So I was telling her, and I said, I kept hearing these women's names, but I don't know who they are. And she said, well, what were the names? And I told her, she says, oh, that's all the women in my family. And I thought, oh my God, how did I do that? That's kind of cool, but how did I do it? And so the more I did sessions, the more it opened me up. I started seeing and hearing and knowing. And then I was just dazzled by it. And I started running it on my children. I'd be reading them stories. They'd be sitting in my lap. I would just invoke the energy and let it flow. Or I'd give sessions to people. Or I started using it when I was cooking, you know, to infuse the food with higher frequencies. Or when making love, or anything I could think of. On a plane, I would flood the plane with light. I still do that every time I get on a plane. And so I was having these amazing experiences. And then my son, my middle child, who's now 36, when he was 5, I drove a big van to take all the kids to school and carpool with everybody. And one day we went to the grocery store, and we got out of the van, and I thought he was out, and I accidentally shut the door on his fingers. Still makes me sick to even tell this story. But all his fingers were in the door, and of course he's screaming. And so I sat on the running board in this parking lot of the van with him in my lap, and I thought, okay, our whole day is going to be about this now. You know, my other 2 kids, one older, one younger, were there, and I just held him, and I couldn't touch his hand. All his fingers looked crumpled, and I just cupped my hands around his and started running the energy as hard as I could. You know, my intention was, please God, just heal my baby, you know, and he's crying, and after about 5 minutes, he stopped crying, and he said, I want to go in the store, and I don't remember what it was. He wanted some treat. I said, okay, we can go in the store, because I thought I can get an ice pack faster than if I tried to go home. And so we went in the store. They ran off to get the treat. I got the ice pack, and when I got to him, I said, Ryan, give me your hand. And he stood there looking at both of his hands, and he couldn't remember which one had been smashed. And I was like, what? And then I looked at his hands, and his fingers were not crumpled anymore. And so I was dazzled, and I thought, we're still going to the pediatrician. So we went straight there, got it x-rayed. His hand was fine, and it was done. It was healed. He was okay. He wasn't in pain. He didn't have horrible bruising. It was healed. And that moment, I was like, oh my God, this stuff really works. I was so shocked and amazed and thrilled. And then through the years, I've seen so much of that miraculous kind of healing. If you get to healing right when trauma hits, right at the car accident, right at a fall, right when trauma hits, if you run the energy on the body right then, it doesn't set and crystallize in the body like it normally would. So I have lots of stories, amazing stories of healing from simple things like that, because it just lifts it out of the energetic field. And so, that was when I really knew, okay, and the first day I did it, this is what I didn't tell you. The very first day in the session where I heard all the women's names, I realized in the session, I had come back in this lifetime to carry this work. I didn't know what that meant yet. I knew that was the truth. And so, I've felt that all along, all these years, and still to be the steward of this lineage of frequency that comes through Lao Tzu and Kuan Yin, and, came back onto the planet in 1991 through Sachamar.
The part that amazes me is that it not only took care of the physical injury, but like you mentioned, it lifted the trauma.
Yeah.
He couldn't even remember which hand.
I know.
That means from just a few minutes ago, very traumatic, hurts a lot, and 5 minutes later, he doesn't even remember. That means the trauma has left the psyche.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
I think that's the amazing part. I mean, healing things physically, I get. But lifting that psyche energy out of a person, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's very amazing.
I've had people tell me, in sessions, I've been in psychotherapy for 30 years for this issue, and it just lifted it out of my field. And
like it never happened.
And people, I just want to be clear, I'm not doing it. Spirit is, right? I'm facilitating, I'm allowing it to move through me, and like I teach my students, we don't impose our intention on anyone. They may want someone to heal from something, but it's not appropriate to wish or pray even for that your session to heal because you want to feel good that you made them heal. It doesn't work that way. The purer you are in getting out of the way and allowing spirit to just use you as a conduit for life force, then that energy flows unimpeded to the other person based on what's for their highest good and their intentions. So my intention, and I teach my students to always hold the intention to be in service to whatever is for their highest good. And you can say in gentleness, grace, ease, and joy if possible, and to then get out of the way and let spirit do what it's going to do.
I feel that's a really challenging thing to do because we all have egos. Yeah. And I have met healers, like powerful healers, and sometimes after a while they can't help but to think they're great.
Yeah.
And that's tough because they are great.
And I'm not one of those people where I touch somebody's body and they instantly are healed. Well, I should say I haven't had that experience yet. And it's not my goal. Because my goal is to be a service in whatever way is for my highest good and everybody else's. And I've had lots of miraculous healings in front of me on the table. I've seen people, even with remote sessions, come out of comas and things. I have this great story. One of my students, when it was her first day, first level 1 training, first day, and her partner's father was in the hospital in a coma, and they were going to pull the plug the next morning. So this was Saturday, and they were going to pull the plug Sunday morning. So the family's already grieving. And so she had learned LaHoChi that day, so she goes home and sends healing remotely to her partner's father, just to bless him on his way, or whatever she thought it would help if it got to him. The next morning, he calls his wife and says, she answers the phone, and he says, "Come get me." And she's like, "Who is this?" Because she thought he was already gone, And he's like, "Come get me." And and she went and picked him up. And my friend told me, she said later that week he was out mowing the grass. right? So again, she was a brand new student, sent it across the airwaves, didn't know what was going to happen. And so, you know, the frequencies are received from wherever you are in the planet or in the universe. And it's, again, up to spirit how it gets delivered. And so the less ego you have with it, the better. And there's so much joy and fascination and miraculous awe, true awe, when you get your ego out of the way. Because then you realize, look at what we all are capable of if we let spirit do the work. Right? And
what I get from talking to you is the more you're connected to the source, the more the ego gets out of the way.
Yeah.
And the more joy, of course, then you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back to when you talk about Lao-Tzu and Guanyin. I'm curious why you say they're your teachers, and do you feel a difference when they come through you, either through trance channeling or conscious channeling? Do you, like, how did they become your teacher?
Well, I was told as I came to LaHoChi that they were the LaHoChi masters. And
you mean Guanyin and Lao-Tzu? Okay.
But that didn't mean anything to me at that time. That was just words. I mean, I didn't doubt it. I just didn't know what to do with that information. You know, it wasn't a palpable thing for me. So at one point, I was sitting meditating out in the snow in Colorado with a friend. And with my eyes closed, I felt this presence come in, really big presence, and was told to open my eyes. And I look out in the snow, and everything I could see was red. Not like angry, just red. I didn't know why. It was like I had red sunglasses on. And then I was shown this whole scene of me being walked down an aisle as if I was getting married. And Rio and Dan had my arms and were walking me down like spiritual parents, you know. And then Lao-Tzu and Kuan Yin were at the altar waiting for me. And as I got to them, they took my arms, and this huge, steep staircase appeared, like going up into the light, like some, you know, graphic design generated piece of art. And they started walking me up the stairs. And I was turning around looking at, like, well, what about Rio and Dan? And no, they're not coming with us. And in that moment, the transmission of awareness that came through was that it was my work. They had held it to bring it to me, and it was for me to carry now. And I didn't know what that would look like because I loved them. They were dear friends, and the three of us taught together for years, and I couldn't imagine. I would have never taken their work from them. I would never try to. And it was sacred work, and they were sacred teachers, you know. And so I just didn't know what to do with that, and I just kept that to myself and sat on it for years. And we kept teaching together, and then when she got sick and transitioned, Dan and I taught, and then it was too difficult for him emotionally. He just couldn't do it, and he bowed out. So then it naturally fell to me to carry it on. And then I thought, okay, here it is. That vision that I was shown all those years ago is now here. And so, yeah. But when they would come through, I would feel they had different energetic signatures, but they felt like old friends. They felt like pure love, like divine mother love, like being held and encompassed in the most loving field, just grace, where everything's wonderful. Not that, no thought, when they're in your field and holding you and transmitting, there's no other thought coming in. There's no concern. There's no lower worldly desires. There's just none of that. You're so lifted. You just feel elation and heart opening and more love than I would say normally would. Even if you have good intentions, you're a loving person. My experience of channeling all these different beings is the most love ever, you know, and an amazing, palpable grace, yeah, for sure.
Wow. So beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, it's very interesting. I did a reading yesterday, because you know, from my lineage, we like for yoga lineage, a lot of us try to find. I don't know if you heard about this nadi leaf. It's basically these like scents they write down on like a palm leaf, on like what's maybe gonna happen to their students or disciples like hundreds of years later. So you know, you can go find it, you can go and there's a library of these nadi leaves sitting around waiting to be found. And you can go ask and see if you can find yours. It's not guaranteed. You have to pay a fee either way.
Right.
So I found mine, and then I was getting a second reading because there are different chapters, and it was a really powerful reading. It was very kind of lift me up from like a dark cloud of karmic testing, you know.
Yeah.
And gave me a whole new worldview on what this life is about. It was a very beautiful reading. But anyway, yesterday I had another chapter that was read to me, and the guru reminded me that one of my teachers is Lao-Tzu. Yeah, so it was the second time he said that, and so today you're mentioning that, I was like, okay, interesting. It's whenever a name is mentioned to me like twice in a row, it's saying something to me.
Okay, well now I can make it a third time and tell you this story. So before you came to stay, I felt there was something really special when I saw your name. It was like an energy that I was aware of, that this is a really special person, this guest. And I didn't know why, I just felt an excitement to meet you, you know. And when you came to the door and I saw you the first time, my first thought was like, he's like a young Lao-Tzu.
Oh, gosh.
And I didn't want to say any of that to you because I thought, oh, I'd scare him away. But that was my first thought. And then getting to know you and Uriel a little bit. And then when you said his name was Uriel, first thought I had too was Archangel Uriel used to come through and bring a lot of writing to me when I would channel writing. And then I thought, well, you know, this is a special couple of people, you know. And then knowing you, I felt, wow, just kindred spirit for sure. And maybe an old friend and kindred spirit, because it just feels so easy to be with you and talk to you, and you don't feel like a stranger at all. You know? So
Same here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we weren't planning to have this talk,
no.
but it feels so natural.
Yeah.
To have this conversation.
Yeah.
We
A lot of ease.
Yeah, we didn't have to go through notes like, oh, we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna talk about that. We're like, we just sat down, having some water, sat on the grass, and
Yeah.
things just start flowing.
Yeah. Great.
So now we can finally talk about Shasta.
Okay.
I mean, this talk is supposed to be about Shasta, but it's about everything, really. You know,
Yeah.
like what was your first visit to Shasta? Like, what made you keep coming to Shasta, and what made you stay?
So my first visit to Mount Shasta, I had never heard of the place. I wasn't interested in it. But after 20 years of marriage, I was getting divorced, and I had a week to myself for the first time ever, I think. And my friends were coming to do a retreat, and I decided to just spend time alone.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best decisions I ever made, because I had the time of my life the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
This place, so magical, and I had so many experiences that blew my socks off. I kept meeting people here. Because I was alone, it was easier for people to feel they could approach me or speak to me, and so I met so many people who I had never met before in this life, who I immediately recognized. And sometimes it was so incredible. Like one time, my girlfriend Cindy was here doing the retreat, and so she said, let's go up on the for sunrise on the mountain. I meditate up there. So I said, okay. So we go up there, and there were a few other women up there. And she said, let's ask them to sit and meditate with us. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay. So she starts going to gather some, and I walk up to this woman who's walking around with a Sherpa hat on and a gong. And as I got this close to her, we both started sobbing and fell into each other's arms, crying, right? And I said, I woke up this morning and asked for a reunion with all my soulmates. And she goes, I woke up this morning and asked for the same thing. And so, and she, I know, and she was a really close friend for years. That was one time, right? And then I met another woman up there who was a woman who wrote all the books on Telos, and Louise Jones, who known as Aurelia. And so that's when I met her. And both of those women have since passed that I met up there. And then I met probably 10 or more people that week who, they weren't maybe as dramatic as that, but recognition for sure, both ways. And so I kept having that. And so then I had this really magical experience where we were driving up to go to Castle Lake, where you went today. And on the way up the road, just as you start up on the left, there's this huge grove of oak trees. And I had never done anything like this before, but all of a sudden we're driving, and I screamed out loud, stop the car! Stop the car! I gotta get out! So she slams on the brakes. I get out, and I go into these woods, and I just walk deep into the woods and sit down and close my eyes and start meditating, right? I mean, I don't know what made me do that. You know, I wasn't a drama queen before, but I go and I do that, and I start having this awareness and a remembrance of me being a Native American man in a past life in that area. And so I'm sitting there having that experience, and then I get up when I'm done meditating, and I start to walk out of the woods towards the road, and I had never hugged a tree in my life at that point. And this tree starts pulling me in, it was like out of a sci-fi movie. It was like a huge magnet. And I just go to this tree and plaster my body against it and wrap my arms around it and lean my head against it. And in that moment, I blasted off out of my body into light, nothing but light, just light, no thought, just light. I'm one with the tree in the light, and I wasn't aware that I had tears streaming down my face. And this is before cell phones. So my friend had her camera, and she saw what I was doing. She walked up and took my picture. And I ended up putting that inside my first CD because I wanted the energy of that union I experienced with the tree and all life it wasn't even an awareness of I feel one with the tree. I was just one, you know, with light. And I just had that profound experience. And then when I got done with that, I mean, what do you say, right? There's not, it was like, you know, there's nothing to say. You can't put words to that. And so that was like, you know, the first time I came here. So things like that happened just blew my socks off, and I thought, weird, like in the Wizard of Oz.
That was your first visit.
That was my first visit, and I'm like, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Goodness.
You know, and so I felt compelled to come back. I came back 30 times in 7 years before I moved here because part of it was I had a boyfriend here for a while, and my daughter was in a school near here, but I just couldn't get enough of the place, and my kids were still too young and in school there for me to leave them, you know, and so I waited, and I was like, Spirit, let me know when I can go. And actually, when I got that Kuan Yin that I showed you in that front room,
in the piano room,
when I saw her the first time, one of the way I knew it was time to come was I saw her. She was in the dark in a basement, and I saw this flash of light, and she was on a yellow surfboard. and she usually Kuan Yin would come through with this really sweet, gentle energy, and it was so forceful. It was like, go to California, and with the surfboard. And I was like, and she's coming with me. so then I knew it was okay. It was time. And but yeah, so coming here every time I'd meet more people who felt like my soul family, and like our pod had decided to reincarnate and come back at this time on some level. And so those people are still my dearest friends. And it makes it a profoundly rich and deep home that I don't want to leave. Plus, the dimensional frequencies here are so high that the consciousness of the community as a whole, the spiritual community, is really high. And they hold not only themselves and each other and the land here and the mountain itself in such esteem and sacredness that it just creates a field of grace. Things happen pretty quickly here. You know, you can just think something and then you experience it. And I've had times where I show up in front of the grocery store, Berryville here, and all of a sudden I see like 5 or 6 friends pull right up. I mean, this was one time we all converged right in front of the store at the same time. And I'm like, what are you doing here? I don't know. I just felt like I needed to come. And I was like, me too. I don't really need anything. I just like, but we all just showed up and hugged each other and then went on our way, you know. And so there's a lot of effortless flow because people are living in their spiritual truth and honoring it as their own truth, not necessarily following somebody else. Just tapping into themselves and showing up. Letting spirit show up in their lives, that flow is palpable, visible, alive and well here, you know, more so than anywhere else I've ever been. And I've been all over the world, and Sedona was a powerful spot for me. I went a couple times before I came here, but
it's not Shasta.
It's not Shasta. It's much more of a masculine, harsh energy with all the rock. You know, here it's more lush and green and feels like a nurturing, softer place to land. So for me, it feels like home. And when I'd have to leave on visits, I'd feel like my heart was breaking. I would sob. And then I couldn't wait to be back here. And my kids still, you know, why don't you come live here? Why don't you go there? Or come to a beach, which I love. I'm like, I don't feel called anywhere else. This feels like home. And then now, of course, with Wi-Fi and satellites and everything in the world, there's so much radiation. I don't have to live in that here. I have, my nervous system settles into a comfortable, gentle place, more here than anywhere else. And so I make sure, and part part of that came out of the LaHoChi teachings because I learned to manage my energy and I learned how to nurture my energy. And so every choice I make, what I eat, what I read, what I watch, what kind of radiation I allow around me, all of it makes a huge difference in my energetic field. And then your physical is within your energetic field. So your physical body is going to reflect your energetic field. And so it's very important to me to maintain a clean, healthy frequency around me, and not just physically outside of myself, but within my thoughts too, right? And so that's the most important.
I definitely felt that after staying at your place. First, the morning meditation feels so easy to settle in, because usually when I'm in the big city, it's like I feel this, I don't know, just agitated inside, you know, and it takes a long time to go through that agitation, for me at least.
Yeah.
But at your place, with the long meditation, I kind of just settled in right away, and I don't feel that agitation. And I love the no scent thing going on in your house, because after we checked into the next Airbnb, the first thing I noticed when I opened the door is like, psh, like punching me in the nose with their, you know, they like to use those like freshener for the dryer for the clothes. I hate that thing.
God.
That's the worst.
Most people don't realize that scented products, unless it's an organic essential oil or organic, you know, food that you're smelling, they're all neurotoxic. You breathe it in, you smell it, and people think, well, the smell is just in the air. But you smell it, that means you've pulled the particles of it in through your nose, into your lungs, into your bloodstream. It gets stored as a toxin in your liver and other tissue. And unless you really do some serious liver cleansing, right, or tissue cleansing, you know, you've got those toxic chemicals in your body for life.
Yeah.
And so it's really bad for people. And for people who are sensitive, like me, it's an instant headache, like a sinus burn, bothers my lungs. I have trouble breathing, and I can't focus. And so that and the radiation too creates fight or flight in your body. And so being able to get rid of that outside stimuli that takes your body into such active crankiness, you know, when you eliminate that, then your body, your nervous system just settles and you're peaceful and you can have a healthy everything, you know, instead of struggling. So, yeah, and I think people have forgotten what that feels like, because even going out in nature away from cell phones, there's so many towers now and satellites, it's hard to escape it. You have to work hard at it. And then also having space around you where you're not feeling other people's energy or phones or Bluetooth or any of it. And so, and most people, especially younger generation, they don't even realize they could use an Ethernet cord and have wired connection.
Know. I can go online with the Ethernet on my phone. I learned that here. I'm like, this is awesome, because we're moving after this trip to a new place. Now I'm like really considering just hardwire everything instead of doing Wi-Fi.
I had my electrician hardwire my whole house. So there's no Wi-Fi signal sent to my modem, only a hardwired signal. And you even have to teach the tech support people that that's an option, because they're not taught that. And then I had a Faraday cage, you know, on a meter, electric meter on one house. But this house, I have the old school analog electric meter that doesn't have a digital readout. So there's no smart meter energy going into the house. And yeah, I have an Ethernet jack in every room, and I just get like 50-foot Ethernet cords, and I can go anywhere I want in my house or outside and be online. No password needed, you know, and it's really
fast.
good. It's fast and it's strong. And the thing is that if you can see other networks to join, you're cooking in every single one of those networks that you pull up.
Yes.
You might not be able to access them, but you're cooking in that field. And so it's a tremendous amount of radiation to subject our bodies to. You know, flying does that on a plane, being in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, anything wireless it's not good. If you did live blood cell analysis to see how it affects your blood when you're in that, it would show you a very different picture than being out in nature or sitting on the earth for half an hour, you know, which totally helps get rid of inflammation and helps you ground and earth. So yeah, there's so many great ways that the community here is in touch with that understanding. And so we fought hard not to have a cell tower here, and lost because it got put on put on federal land. But at least we kept it away from the school. And so now, you know, there's just the awareness of trying to live as gentle and nurturing a life as possible in the midst of the technology, which is convenient and fun, just not healthy.
Not at all. It's like staying at your place is like someone's been drinking like dirty water their whole life, and then finally had a glass of the Shasta water. It's like, oh, this is the way. This is what I should be drinking. Not that.
That's right. This is what's possible. I know. Even the water is magical. You feel alive. That was another thing I noticed, the food and the water here. Coming from the East Coast, most of the food on the East Coast comes from California. So all my life, I thought fresh food had a certain look and taste. And when I moved here, I realized we were getting old food on the East Coast. I walked into Berryville here, and the produce, the whole produce section felt alive and was vibrating. And the food looked so lush and alive. I was amazed, and then it tasted so much better, and I felt so energized from it after eating it. Such a difference. And the water too, especially from the headwaters, because it makes you, when you drink it, you feel alive. You feel like you were just blessed with something.
Yes.
I mean, it is sacred water, and that's what it all used to be.
When we are here, that's all we drink. We go to the headwater every day. Get a fresh bottle.
I know, it's so good.
It is so good, so blessed.
Yeah.
But the water you get here is from the well.
Yeah, the water here is from the well.
Essentially, it's Shasta water, right?
It's Shasta water, and I have everything on a whole house filter. So because in this area there's high iron content in the water, so I have iron filter and then a whole house filter, and so it's the pure water and filtered.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, but I like the headwaters water too.
Do you go there and grab? You get that?
Every once in a while I just go fill up my water bottle, and it feels like a treat.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I can do it whenever I want, and I just love it every time.
Interesting people there, though.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Every time.
Every time.
You never know who you're gonna see there.
That's right.
Yeah, but and the water comes from up on the mountain, and they say it takes 50 years for it to come up from where it comes in the ground. To get to the surface, and that's where the Sacramento River begins.
Yes.
And
that's such a treat just to think about the whole thing.
Yeah,
I told Uriel last year, it's like if you go, and let's say you go pee on the top of the mountain and you come back in 50 years.
It'll be filtered.
It'll be filtered, you'll drink it.
It'll be filtered.
It's like too late for me. I don't have another 50 years, but you can still do it. How did you do 30 trips in 7 years? Like, what does that look like?
I came every other month.
Every other month, even during winter?
For a couple years.
Even during winters?
Yeah. I came, well, at that time, the 2 years that I came every other month, I was dating someone here, and my daughter was in school. And so I'd see
Around
her. Like outside of Reading. And so I'd see her, and then I'd see him, And then, and then the other times I wanted to get here, and I was trying to figure out how to afford that, because it's expensive to go across country so much. And I started leading retreats here because I was so in love with this place and the magic of this place and what happened to me every time I came. So I started bringing people from the East Coast on retreats here, and I'd rent places for them, and I'd plan an itinerary and take them out in nature every day to the waterfalls or the lakes and magical places. And then I'd organize concerts with local musicians at night, teach them sacred tantric dance for women. I was just doing all these different things. And so they'd have like the best week of their life, like I did that time. And it was really magical. And they loved it. And so I did that for years. And then finally, once I got the green light from Kuan Yin, I moved.
On the surfboard.
On the surfboard, on the yellow surfboard. I should say yellow. It wasn't a yellow light, but it was, I knew. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, and I loved it, being here, and I still do. And I did leave in the middle for a few years just to help my parents transition, on the East Coast. But then once that I was done with that, I knew I needed to come home. And I haven't been sorry ever. I just love it here. And I love traveling, and it's wonderful to come home.
So when you first come, how do you, you already know the place pretty well because you came here 30 times.
Yeah.
But how did you find your first home? How did you settle in? What was the process for you?
Well, I wanted to buy a home, but I didn't know the area as far as where I'd want to live yet well enough. So I decided to rent a house the first year. And so I did, over in the resort neighborhood. And it was nice. I liked living there. But then I started looking around and seeing what else there was. And at the time, the market was so high, I didn't feel like I could afford a nice house. And so what I decided to do was buy a condo and renovate it. And I did that on the other side of town. And so I got a condo and lived there for a few years and hosted gatherings, and I would rent a different house to teach my trainings in. And then I thought, God, it'd be so nice to have my own space that I can teach in. I don't have to rent somebody else's. And the other side of town, too, I had neighbors. And I was like, no, I need more space. Yeah, I don't want to hear people. I don't want to smell their laundry detergent. I don't want to hear dogs barking. I want quiet. And so then when I came back after my parents passed, I started looking for space. And I really wanted a house on that side with a big view of the mountain and 5 acres. And Spirit and my grandmother showed up and guided me. She showed me one night, woke me up out of my sleep and showed me this whole vision of where her piano is in my living room, with her portrait over the piano and her paintings around it and the rug underneath it. She showed me the whole thing like I had already been living here for a while. And I was like, oh. And that portrait was hanging in my brother's house. And I thought, he doesn't know it, but I'm taking her to Mount Shasta. And so that's how I decided. And I just was like, okay, this is it. And I'd been looking, I wanted a house with good bones, so I walked in and I immediately started seeing the vision in that front room of what's there, and then got into this room and I knew it. And the realtor, the people hadn't taken good care of the house, and the realtor said, see, I would never let you buy a house like this. And I was already on it in my psyche, And I thought, he just said the perfect thing, because the kid in me was thinking, don't tell me what to do, because yes, I am getting this house. And so anyway, I spent 2 years renovating it and putting in landscaping and yard and everything. And then I've been really glad I did it since.
This is perfect.
Thanks.
This is...
Yeah, well, I built it intentionally as sanctuary for me, my family, my friends, my students, and I knew I wanted to Airbnb to be able to create sanctuary for other people to come and experience what it feels like to just let down and relax on a very deep level that most people don't get to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just felt like this needs to be sacred sanctuary. And so I'm really glad I did it. And it's 7 minutes from town, you know, from the center of town. It's easy.
And so close to the headwater too.
And no traffic, you know. Yeah, that's right. It's like, you know, 5 minutes to get anywhere and be in beautiful nature. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what one of the reasons I started recording the series for Shasta was last year I was camping in the Trinity Forest, and there's at one point I was just feeling the love from Shasta, and the love just keep pouring in, and I was like, man, this is a little too much. Like if I keep letting them in, now it's greed, you know. but they just keep pouring in, and I was like, wow, like how do I ever repay you, Shasta? And somewhere there was a voice in my head, it's like, you know, write a book to honor Shasta and also to bring more people into Shasta. You know,
Yeah.
I see that a lot of people in the spiritual community, they've been doing like very disciplined, hard work their whole life.
Yeah.
And they do taste the fruit of their daily meditation, sadhana, and hard work, but they have never experienced this.
Yeah.
And I feel they deserve it because they've been doing the hard work and the discipline work their whole life. And this will really just really push them
Yeah.
right
into a new orbit.
Into an orbit, and they deserve it because, you know, like Shasta has done so much for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I got kicked in the butt into a different
Yeah.
orbit by lovingly by Shasta.
Right. Gently, yeah. Well, Mount Shasta calls people in, and people here have stories of how the mountain started appearing to them as a child, or how all of a sudden in their meditation they'd been seeing this mountain for a long time, and all of a sudden they saw a postcard, or everybody's got a different story. And so it's interesting to hear people's stories of what brought them here. And Mount Shasta sometimes is confused because people who live here, we call it Shasta, but there actually is a town called Shasta further south.
Oh,
you know, that's definitely not here. and Shasta Lake is the big, beautiful lake down near Redding, but the lake here is called Lake Siskiyou, and so, you know, it's like it can be confusing to people from out of the area. But Mount Shasta has its own energy and power and grace, and it'll tell people to leave, and it'll tell people to come back, and it'll tell people to come in the first place, and so, you know, the important thing is, and there's so many spiritual teachers here, people like to connect in with them. You know, I just want to say the most important thing about being a channel or a spiritual teacher is to trust the person who's before you, because they are connected to Source, just like you are. Maybe not in the exact same way at the same time, but everyone has their divine nature and access. And they need to learn how to trust it, even if they make mistakes with it. And so following someone else's advice or insights, you have to honor where you are within yourself with it first. You know, does it feel right? If it doesn't, throw it out, because you have to be your own most powerful guide and the guidance you get on the internal. And so, you know, there are a lot of spiritual people and teachers here, And I always tell people, just because they wear a white dress and play a crystal bowl doesn't mean they're a good spiritual teacher. You have to be discerning enough to see what resonates truly for you. Does it feel right in your heart, in your body, you know, and then trust that. And there are lots of amazing, wise teachers here. So, yeah.
Do you have a story where Mount Shasta kicked someone out? Because I heard plenty stories where Mount Shasta.
Yeah, I got kicked out.
You got kicked out.
I was sitting at a friend's birthday dinner in a restaurant. This was beginning of January. And I was having this nice birthday dinner, and all of a sudden I just started crying, and he's like, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I was just told I have to leave Shasta and I have to be out by," I forget the exact day now, it was the beginning of September. I have to be out by then. And he said, "Well, where are you going to go?" And I said, "Florida, but I don't know where." I just knew Florida and by September. So I sold my place and I packed up everything I owned and put it in storage and went to Florida looking for where I was supposed to be. At the time, I didn't really know what I was doing, but part of it was so I'd be on the East Coast closer to my parents in North Carolina and help them more. That way I got my beach fix and I got to be near them. And so I drove down the East Coast of Florida and up the west, stopping in all these little towns to feel in my body what felt right. Nothing felt right on the East Coast. Got about halfway up the West Coast to Sarasota, and everything in me said, "You're home." And so then I started looking to rent a house, because again, I didn't know the area. And I saw one house that wasn't big enough for me, but the neighborhood felt right. And there was a house for sale next to it. And so the last day of the week, I had stayed at this place, and the woman said, "Well, you didn't see anything you like?" I said, "Well, there's this one neighborhood that feels right, but there's not a house, you know." She said, "Let's go look at it." So we go, and the house that was for rent, I went and knocked on the door. And I said, "I'm looking for a place to rent." I said, "But this isn't big enough for me, you know." And she said, "Well, the house next door is for sale." I said, "I can't buy a house yet. I need to wait." And she says, "Well, if you like it and you want to rent it, I'll rent it to you." It turns out it was her family's. And so we walked over and looked at it, and the house was great. It was perfect for what I wanted, except it had dark wood paneling. I said, "Well, it's a nice house." I said, "But I would not live in something so dark. It would have to be white, painted white inside." She goes, "We'll do it." And she rented it to me right there on the spot. I gave her a check. She pulled the for sale sign up out of the yard, and that was it. And I was there 4 years. And she said, "You know, just that fast, I could have it." And I was like, "Thanks, Spirit." And then after I had moved in, I realized that the beach, I was 5 minutes from the beach. It was rated the #1 beach in the country. I didn't know that. And Huffington Post had just published an article saying it was the #1 place in the country to live for well-being. And so I was like, "Thank you, perfect." And I loved being there. I loved that town, I loved that beach, and I loved living in that house. And then when it was time to go home, I knew it was time to come back, and that's when I got this place 8 years ago. And so, yeah, and I'm glad I listened and went, because there was a lot of magic in all of it. And then it made coming back here even sweeter, because I missed my spiritual community here, my friends. I missed the energy of the place, and it just felt so good.
I totally see why the spirits love you. I mean, not only you listened, you surrendered. You took action right away.
Yeah.
Thank you, Uriel. And you just went for it.
I did.
I mean, you sold your place.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just full surrendering and trust.
Yeah.
No wonder they like to come to you. 'Cause if I'm spirit, like I would like to work with this person too.
Thanks.
It's so easy. 'Cause
Yeah.
a lot of people listen, but they don't do anything.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. People don't because they're afraid, and they don't realize the level of grace that can happen when you surrender. There's a fabulous book called The Surrender Experiment.
Okay, yeah, I read that book.
It's so good.
Yes.
And the same guy that wrote
Michael Singer,
Untethered, right?
Untethered
Same
Soul,
guy
yeah.
wrote Untethered Soul. I like this book even better. It just is a whole story about this guy and how he surrendered and surrendered and surrendered and what happened in his life because of it. It's remarkable. It just blows your mind reading it. So, yeah.
I like your version of the surrendering experiment better.
Yeah.
That you end up
Yeah.
here. I like this version of the.
Yeah, there's so much grace when you listen. And Spirit will keep teaching you. I have so many magical stories of grace at work in my life that you know, my mantra really is healing. I've had a serious illness and was challenged by that and had to surrender and surrender and surrender and listen and completely healed.
Can you tell me about that story?
Sorry. I had lung cancer. And I couldn't figure out how, because I've been into energy healing and eating healthy and detoxing for at least the last 35 years and living here. And, you know, I was like, I don't understand this. And so one night I was sitting meditating and praying, asking Spirit to understand. I want to know what caused this. I want to understand it. It doesn't make sense, you know. And so, and I wasn't in the place of victimhood because I know better, right? I know to create the life I want, I need to be in my power and my truth and not go to poor me. And so I asked, please show me, make it clear what caused this so I'll understand. And so I went to bed, and a couple hours later, I woke up in terrific pain in my back tooth. And my first thought as I woke up in pain was, and I hadn't had any pain there before, ever. And so I got up and I went to my book that shows which energetic meridian is associated with which tooth.
Okay.
Right? So I look it up, it was lung meridian. I'm like, okay, we're on to something. So the next day I went to the dentist here and I said, I need to know what's going on here. It hurts like crazy. So he said, your x-ray looks fine. I don't see anything. Your tooth looks fine. I take really good care of my teeth. You know, I brush and floss every day. Just not a thing. And he said, maybe you need a root canal. And I said, hell no, because he knew I had already gone years earlier to a woman in Santa Monica who's a naturopathic endodontist and had her undo my root canals I had had previously, because it is very typical for people to get breast cancer or cancers on the same side of the body as their root canals.
What?
Yes, because they don't remove all the dead tissue, and the chemicals they put in end up draining and causing problems in the lymphatic system. And so I flew down to Santa Monica and saw her, and she did a CAT scan on my jaw, and she said, under the filling that you have there, and I had had my metal fillings removed when I was way younger, you know, so it's just
the mercury
composite,
ones?
yeah. And so she said, under your filling, she says, on the surface, everything looks fine. She says, underneath, your tooth is cracked full length and has long-term infection in it. And she said, it could have easily caused your cancer. I've seen it many times. And once people clear it out, often their cancer will clear.
Oh.
So she said, let me see if I can save it or not, and she couldn't, so she had to pull my tooth. Luckily, it was the back one, and I don't miss it. So I healed from that just in time to have surgery. I didn't want to have surgery. It's not what I believed in, because I know cutting something out doesn't undo the systemic piece that created it. Yet because I felt like I had found the systemic piece and taken care of that, because it was right near my heart and my airways, and it was clear around it at the time, the surgeon said, if you wait, it could cause really serious problems and not be safe. So I ended up having the top lobe of my lung removed. And that was like a couple years ago. And I had so many people praying for me. So many people. First of all, I didn't tell people except my close friends and my kids, because I didn't want other people holding me in the poor beloved mode and pitying me and worrying and thinking of me with that energy, because that wouldn't have helped lift me up, right? That would have taken me down on the collective consciousness level. And so I only told people I knew who could transcend that in their thought and to see me as whole and healed and thriving. And so I went into the surgery, and every day I was like, thanks, Spirit, how much better can it get? But really meaning it and feeling it, right? I just was blessed. And before that, I did spend months doing alternative stuff, trying to heal myself, you know, and every day I did something different. I had acupuncture, I had craniosacral, I had massage, I had psychotherapy, dream work, you know, my work, whatever it was, and I was eating purely, you know, vegan like I usually do, and organic and healthy, and I focused on what can I do today for optimal health every day. That was my whole day, every day. And so I was feeling good, and it hadn't grown at all, and then I stopped going to this alternative clinic, and then I got scanned again, and she said it's clear, and she told me about it, and so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So I did it. And every day I literally felt buoyed and like floating and bobbing on the water from so many people's prayers and holding me in their meditation, or people would say, I put you in a prayer circle, you know, and it was just palpable. And I felt so happy and lifted and blessed by it, you know. And so, you know, now I'm a couple years out and everything's clear and fine, and I feel great, and I don't have the worry, oh my God, what if it comes back? Because I don't believe that way, right? I know what I took care of. I know how I eat and how I think and how I feel. And you know, my mom's aunt used to say, nobody dies of good health. It's like, I mean, we're all here going at some point, you know, from the time we're born, we're on our way out. And so we just have to show up each moment with love and light, and be the best version of ourselves we can be, and shower other people around us with love and inspiration, so that we lift each other up and actualize the planet, actualize life. You know, all life is waiting for our fulfillment within ourselves to bless the world, right? We all come to do that. So I see that as my mission on a daily basis, not as, oh my God, this, oh my God, that. And every day I just feel so blessed. And my mantra then and now is still, oh my God, thank you, Spirit. How much better could it possibly get? So that is what saw me through. And I've seen other people take on that mantra and that deep gratitude to heal themselves since. And so I'm happy to say it has a happy ending at this point, you know, and I feel stronger for it, and I feel really confident you know, that to a lot of people that would have been a death sentence. And to me, it was, how do I show up for myself even more?
You show up so powerfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I just told the world through you, but I usually don't tell people that story at all, because I don't want to be known for that, and I don't want that to be talked about as she did this, and it's not important. It's not who I am. It's just something I experienced for a little while, right? You know.
I'm really getting this for me. We have prostate cancer running in my family, so yeah. That's the legacy of the true family. So I'll probably get it at some point. And,
I don't even think that. Don't think it.
Yes,
you don't need to. I mean,
I don't need to.
You know, your diet, the way you think, I'm sure is different, and your meditation practice, I'm sure, is different than where you came from. And a lot of people, I think cancers are hereditary, right? But they don't realize everybody in the family pretty much eats the same way, right? Or they might even think the same way, or be exposed to the same environmental toxins. And so that's why it seems like it's hereditary, more so, I think, than the genes. And yeah, there was cancer in my family too, but not like that. And then, yeah, so I don't think it's a sentence. I think our thoughts are the most important thing to keep clean. And to see the truth. And sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, but not to be in denial, just to choose where to reside and abide on a regular basis with your thoughts, right? It's what you think most of the time, it's what you eat most of the time, it's who you spend your time with, it's where you compromise your spirit versus staying in your power. You know, who we are just needs fine-tuning. How we show up.
Making the right choice. Where to spend the energy or reside our consciousness, like you said.
Yeah.
It's been an hour and 40 minutes. Can you believe that?
Wow. No.
We really went for it.
I'm really good at talking.
I feel like we can talk for another 3 hours.
Yeah, easily. But I won't make you do that.
No. And I want to respect your time. Any final thoughts, or one more story, or final thoughts, or before we end this conversation?
Yeah, I'll tell you a really cool story, and it has a really important lesson with it. When I was first coming to this work, I had an experience in a group setting where sometimes the students will get together and do healing on each other and just have a potluck lunch afterwards to visit and compare notes. So when I was new to LaHoChi, I went to one of those. And I was paired with a man who was very nice, powerful healer. He was middle-aged, married, you know, not somebody I was attracted to at all. And that thought never even would have crossed my mind. Anyway, I'm running energy on his head, and we're all in this session together in the silence, except for really sweet music. And everybody had been telling their stories of their experience and what they saw in the healings. And because they were more experienced, they were further along, because it's not the teaching of this work or the focus of the work, but a byproduct of the LaHoChi is that it tends to open up people's subtle senses. And so a lot of people would see and relate what they were seeing and experiencing on the inner. And so I thought, well, you know, I've got the Mickey Mouse version, they have the elaborate version, and people were talking about Jesus and Mary, and I'm thinking, I want to see them, why don't I see them, you know? And so in the middle of this session, in the blissed out expansion, you know, that you have sometimes when you dissolve into meditation, I all of a sudden had Jesus in front of me on the table. It wasn't Bill, it was Jesus. And luminous, and just like the pictures of him, gorgeous, and radiating so much light. And all of this is with my eyes closed, but he's right there. Like I'm having this experience. It's not like I'm in a room with anybody else. I'm just there with Jesus. And he's so beautiful. And he has these luscious lips, and I'm feeling drawn in, like I told you, to that tree, when like a magnet. I'm feeling pulled to his lips, and I'm like so close, getting ready to make out with Jesus, right, in this experience. And when I was about an inch away, I snapped out of it. I was put back into this reality, and I was like an inch from Bill's lips. Mm-hmm. And everything in me screamed like, oh my God, what if I had done that in the middle of this session? It was just so inappropriate. and I'm like fight or flight mode, and I just don't know what to do with myself. But the understanding in that moment was, see everyone as your beloved. See all life as your beloved. Live that way. It's the truth. I mean, it's, not to feel separate. Not one person's beautiful and another person isn't. One person's spiritual and another person isn't. It's like, no, all beings are of this one divine light. And to recognize that no matter what's going on, see through the facade, see God in every face, see the divine in each being, and meet them there. And so we're all beloved, and hence the name, and that's a whole nother story for another time. But the understanding was something I carried forth and taught my students for years, that we're all beloved and all life is beloved, and to see everyone like that and come from that place first. And so that's my blessing. Yeah.
Received. And one last question. When you say meet them where they are, what do you mean by that? I kind of know, but I want to make sure I'm getting
me,
your
it
version.
can mean a couple things. One is meet them where they are in the true sense, in the fullest sense of that they're divine beings. They have innate intelligence and healing and ability that they may not see or own or recognize in themselves yet, and to see the fullness of who they are first. And then meet them with compassion and tenderness in the place that they feel and think they're in, right? Whether it's poor me, I'm sick, poor me, I'm broke, poor me, I don't have this and you do. Wherever people see lack and fear and limitation is not the truth of who they are. And so you can have compassion for it, yet you just don't want to see them only as that, right? So see the true self first, the higher self, know they're connected to divine spark like we all are, and then and then there's either a resonance or there's not. To spend time with someone, we tend to resonate with people who vibrate at the place where we are, or where we want to be. And so that can be a trick too, because you don't want to see what you wish you had for yourself in another and long for it and feel jealous, right? If you see blessings in someone else's life, you want to be grateful that they have such grace and beauty and abundance in their life, and know that they're just modeling it, that it's possible too to have that. But your thoughts have to be at the place of, I too am that. I too am able to call that in. I have the same abilities that everyone else has. I just need to use my energy in the direction of my dreams rather than my lack. And so, I used to teach workshops on it, so you can't sum it all up in one sentence. Yet, as we think, we are. So what we believe outpictures in our world as the movie of our lives. So if we don't like what's in front of us, we need to go back inside and change it there first, and change our perception to choose from a higher level. Yeah,
That was beautiful.
thanks.
Well, that's our time. I'm so grateful for
Thank
our
you.
time spent together. Let's
Thank
say
you.
goodbye to the audience. Until next time.
Goodbye. Blessings.
Blessings.